Chapter 17, Sing Down the Moon, page 91. The sky was gray and the air smelled of bitter winds. The long knives drove us along the river and through the portals of the canyon. Like sheep before the shepherd, we went without a sound. By noon on that day, snow fell out of the gray sky. A sharp wind blew against us. The long knives made camp in a wooded draw and told us to do likewise. We stayed there in the draw until the snow stopped, until 2 days had gone. Then on the third morning, we set off again. My father asked one of the long knives where they were taking us. The soldier said, Fort Sumner. He pointed southward, and that was all. On that day, we met Navajo from Blue Water Canyon, more than 50 of them. They came down from their village driven by the long knives. Their clothes were ragged, and all were on foot. Most of them were old men and women, but one girl about my age was carrying 2 young children on her back. They were heavy for her, and I asked if I could help her carry one of them. The girl's name was Little Rainbow. She was small but pretty like a flower, and her children, a boy and a girl, looked like flowers too, with their round faces and big dark eyes. She gave me the girl, and I made a sling and carried her on my back the rest of that day. Toward evening, we came upon another band of Navajo. There were about 100 of them, a few on horses. They belonged to the Coyote clan and had been on the trail for a week, prodded along by 5 soldiers. We lighted fires that night and had a gathering. The long knives left us alone, but we could see them watching us from the trees while we chanted our songs and our prayers. Little Rainbow came and we sat together in the grass, playing with the children. She took the girl with her when she went off to sleep, but in the morning gave her back to me. Sometime in the night, Tall Boy slipped into our camp and lay down by the fire. We found him there in the morning, his clothes torn and his feet bare and bleeding. He ate the mush I brought to him, but would not talk. He had the same shamed look about him that I had seen when he fled the long knives, his lance lying broken upon the ground. The trail led south and eastward across rough country, and we went slowly because of the old people. We had 2 wagons and good horses, but they were not enough to carry all those who needed help. We made scarcely a league during the whole morning. At noon, 2 large bands of Navajo overtook us. They were mostly men, some of them wounded in a fight with the long knives. They went by us with their eyes on the ground, silent and weaponless. That afternoon, we saw many bands of Navajo. They came from all directions, from the high country and from the valleys. It was like a storm when water trickles from everywhere and flows into the river, and the river flows full. This was the way the trail looked as night fell, like a dark, flowing river. Little Rainbow did not come for her child when we camped that night, and I asked my mother what I should do. There is nothing to do, she said. My sister said, You were foolish to take the child. You have enough to carry without her. We will find the girl tomorrow, my mother said, or she will find us. In the meantime, she knows that her child is safe. We did not find her the next day. Tall Boy went out looking at sunrise, but soon returned, saying that a soldier had threatened him. The soldier told him to go back to his clan and not to wander around or someone would shoot him. All day as we trudged eastward, I looked for Little Rainbow. I asked people I did not know if they had seen her. Everyone shook their heads. In a way, I was glad that I did not find her. I was carrying 3 rolled-up blankets and a jar filled with cornmeal. It was a heavy burden even without the little girl, but she was good all the time, making happy sounds as the 2 of us went along. As on the day before, Navajo by the hundreds came out of the mountains and forests to join us. The river flowed slower now, and many old people began to falter. At first, the long knives rode back and forth, urging them on if they lay down beside the trail. But so many fell that afternoon when the cold wind blew from the north that the soldiers did not take notice anymore except to jeer at them. The march went on until dusk. Fires were lighted and people gathered around them. Our clans said little to each other. We were unhappy and afraid, not knowing where we were driven. The soldiers tell me that it is a place of running water and deep grass, my father said, but it lies a long walk to the east. He said this every night as we huddled around the fire. I think he believed it. He wanted us to believe it too. Cast your eyes around, he said. You will see many people sitting beside their fires. They are hungry but not starving. They are cold but they do not freeze. They are unhappy, yet they are alive. We are walking toward deaths, my mother said. The old die now, the young die later. But we all die. Tallboy stared at the fire, saying nothing. He had said little since that day when he tried to throw his iron-tipped lance and had failed. The Navajo, his people, were captives of the Long Knives, and there was nothing he could do to free them. Once he had been haughty, his wide shoulders held straight, his black eyes looked coldly at everyone. I wished, as I sat there beside him, that he would act haughty once more. My sister took the little girl from my lap, where she was sleeping. She is heavy, Lapana said. No wonder, my mother answered. She eats a lot, as much as I do, almost, and food is scarce. Every day there will be less until there is none. I took the child back and wrapped her in a blanket and lay down with her in my arms. The fire died away and I could see the stars. I wondered what the little girl's name was. She was like a flower in spring meadow. I gave her that name, Meadow Flower, as she lay beside me. The north wind was cold, and far off among the trees, the horses of the Long Knives were restless.